Hey, it's Chris, and welcome to episode number 1 of No B-Roll. And this is a new series designed to give you guys, the real fans of Daily Tech, some extra content in between the main videos that come out about once a week. So I don't know how many videos like this I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna kind of fit them in as I have time, but like the name implies, there's not gonna be any B-roll. It's just gonna be me talking, just filling you in on some extra interesting information. And one of those things is something that I get asked all the time, and that is, how did Daily Tech start? I mean, every meeting that I'm in, people are always like, especially PR people, like, hey Chris, why don't you tell so-and-so how Daily Tech got started? So I'm used to telling this story, I do it all the time, but I figured you guys might as well know like the official story of how Daily Tech got started. Way before there was 50,000 subscribers or 7 million views, there was a really boring 9-to-5 day job. And I worked at that job as an IT director. I had no business being an IT director, it sort of just happened. I fell into this job at this nonprofit, and it was kind of miserable. Not all the people there were bad, but just the job itself and what I was supposed to be doing, it just didn't sync up. It was no good. And I was bored. I don't know if you've ever been in a job like that, but it's no fun. Hopefully you're not in one of those right now. But if you are, then pay attention to this story. Anyways, I was looking for something that could make me a little bit less bored and kind of engage my creative side, and something that I could do on the side, kind of like a hobby. And so I started a blog. And this is like, I don't know, seven something years ago, probably almost 8. Now the whole idea of this blog was just gonna be to have a daily tech find, like some cool piece of technology or product that I was gonna write about and then just kind of share it out there and see what happened. So that's where the name comes from, but Daily Tech spelled the right way, Daily T-E-C-H, that was already taken. I don't know, some other blog or something had that, and so I had to do something else, but I like the name, so that's where the weird spelling with the 2 Ks come from, Daily T-E-K-K. So those Daily Tech finds, it was kind of a dumb format. It's not something that lasted, even though the name stuck around, and I think the first thing that I ever did was like a smart wall outlet or something really boring that nobody would ever care about. So why tech? I guess that's a pretty interesting question. So I had actually run a couple of design blogs before that, because previously I was a designer. I went to school for that and haven't really used it all that much in my career. I did for a few years. But so I wanted to do something that I was kind of passionate about, because I knew if you're gonna start something like this, then you have to be able to be excited about it and talk about it for a very long time without burning out. So for me, tech seemed like the right thing. So the cool thing is, despite those early daily tech finds, which nobody really cared about, I was able to come up with some other content that really got some traction, and it wasn't too long, I think like about a month before the site was getting hundreds of thousands of views every single month. So I'll never forget this. As the site was beginning to take off, this guy across the hall was seeing that, and he came over and he was like, I don't understand why anybody cares what you have to say about tech stuff. Basically what he was saying was, you're like a no-name person, so how is this possible? Now obviously I think there was probably a little bit of jealousy there, and he might have just been saying like, how did you actually do this? But I felt like there was definitely some undertones. I use those undertones of like, you can't do this, how are you doing this, you shouldn't be doing this, to kind of like fuel the fire and be like, I am gonna do this. See, the thing is, this happens all the time. People see what I do for a living and they want to do that. And they assume it's just as easy as sitting out and writing out an article or just turning a camera on and talking to it. But the reality is, it's not that easy at all. There's so much work that goes into things like this, and I put all that work into, and it's been adding up for years. All right, enough of that, back to the early blog days. So the thing that really helped the site take off was that I used to make these crazy, huge, monstrous top 100 lists, and they would go insane and get a ton of traffic to the site. I don't know how many of those I made, but they took days and days of research and organization, but it was all worth it because it would just be like a flood of traffic as soon as they went live. And the reason that they were so successful is because I would do something like the top 100 websites, which is the only top 100 list that I still do and publish on the site, by the way, every year. So you can still see that. So I'll link those up down below, go check it out. But when I was done, I would go and notify everybody on the list that, hey, you made this list. And then all of a sudden you have these big brands that have big audiences themselves promoting your content because they were excited to be number 1 or 2 or 3, and sometimes they were mad for being like number 90 or something. So back then with those epic top 100 lists, that was really like the heyday of the blogging era for Daily Tech. What was really cool is seeing that you were having an effect out on the internet as a whole and seeing the ripple effect once you create a piece of content as it moved throughout the internet. You know, I had like Jared Leto or NFL players, all kinds of celebrities were sharing the content, and that was kind of fun. These days though, obviously, as you're watching this, I've stepped away from the blogging side. It's really on the back burner, and I still post a few things here and there, but really what I'm concentrated on is YouTube. And that's been a completely different, almost like second half to the Daily Tech story. So trying to make the transition from blogging to video work was actually a really tough time, because at the same time that Google was killing our organic search results and our traffic, which was also killing our money, it was very expensive and time consuming to try to figure out what kind of gear I needed and also how to do video work. So basically, and I'm sure that you've had very similar situations in your own life, but it was like an act of sheer willpower to just say, despite the hard struggles, I'm going to make this happen, and it is going to be successful, and just believing in the future. Especially when you're just getting started on YouTube, because your videos don't really get all that many views, which is actually probably a good thing, because at the same time when you're learning everything, your videos don't look too good. But I mean, it's hard to stay motivated. But luckily the audience did build up over time, and I've said this before on here, but maybe you've missed it. It took like 6 months to get those first 1,000 subscribers, and that felt like a huge milestone at the time. So all this time while Daily Tech continued to grow, it remained a side project, and in fact I probably had 3 or 4 other jobs during the time when Daily Tech was like getting off the ground, and didn't really become my full-time thing with me and my wife until, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It's funny because I remember somebody that I used to work with at a different job saying one day, well, why don't you do this full time? Like, why are you here, basically? And I thought to myself, that's a really good point, but there was a reason for it. And the reason was because a full-time job, it just brought in like constant money. You could count on it. And at the same time, it would take a full-time commitment to go all in on YouTube and making content. And that was like a scary proposition, because you may fail, like it may not be successful. And at some point I did have to make that jump, and my wife and I were just like, hey, if we're gonna do this, then let's actually do it. And yes, it was very scary. And so with that, I mean, the video stuff got rolling. I picked up the cheapest camera that shot in 4K, so at least I could get 4K. And I think it was like the G7, the Lumix G7. And yeah, I mean, the early videos were awful. And you could see that if you went and watched them, but don't go watch those, seriously. So it's kind of funny, the first video that I ever made was kind of a weird one, because it wasn't like a video like you'd think. It was actually just a keynote slideshow that I uploaded with the voiceover, and it was about coding or something, but I sound like a super dork. You know, I don't know, trying to do a video voice or something. Don't watch it. So fast forward a couple years and the brand and the channel continues to grow, and that's awesome. There are days when we get 1,000 subscribers in that single day, which is a huge contrast to those first 6 months that it took to get 1,000 subscribers. And I don't take it for granted at all. I can't believe that 50,000 of you have decided to hit that subscribe button and get more content out of this channel. So thank you, and this is really a thank you, this series, to give you guys more content in between those main videos that you can engage with and we can hang out a little bit. So I have to end this video by saying I have exactly one regret, and it's the same regret that happened over and over and over again over time. I'm not one of those people who's like, I have no regrets. I have very few regrets, but the one regret that I do have is just not starting sooner. I wish that I had started Daily Tech sooner, and I wish that I had started the video side of Daily Tech a lot sooner. So there you go, that's the story of Daily Tech, and if that's one thought to leave you with, it's that one. Just whatever you want to do, make sure that you get started on it as soon as possible. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more episodes of No B-Roll, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.